I've had what I think is the most successful divorce that's ever been. And what I mean by successful, I'm not saying, it's a very interesting topic, divorce, because a lot of people will say it's a sin and all of this stuff that comes along with it. We're going to get into that stuff.
Great morning, world! Welcome to the Rise Up with Dragon podcast with your host, Dragon!
Great morning, world. A very great morning. For those of you watching this on the live, you always get to see the intro video that plays before this. For those of you that are just listening on the podcast, you got to go check it out sometime, because there's this super funny clip that has been intertwined in there when I was, for some reason, rocking a mustache, and Chicken and I always have such a laugh over that. So great morning, everybody. This is our Monday Rise Up with Dragon, and it is June 7th at the time that we're taping this. What an interesting time this is, to be a human being and be alive, So I just want to give everybody a very, very big congratulations just for being here and getting through what has just been an interesting experience that frankly will be remembered forever, will be in the history books and things like that. I mean, I just was realizing the other day how I'm going to be like talking to grandchildren one day about the pandemic, and all that stuff. So great morning, everybody. It's great to be here. As a quick reminder, the Rise Up with Dragon podcast can be found on all platforms at Rise Up with Dragon. We love and appreciate when everybody goes to the iTunes platform and rates and reviews us. And why? I'm going to be transparent. It makes me look cool in the eyes of others. And when other people think I'm cool, they tell other people that I'm cool. So help me be cool and go listen to that. And also, as a reminder, my 15 days of discipline, which is awesome, coming out. There's a free giveaway with that. If you just go to my Instagram at Rise Up with Dragon and you just write the word discipline, we'll put you on the list to receive that. And a very, very big part of that is I teach everybody how to set up what I call a model morning and your own rise up. You can call it like a rise up with snake or pig or whatever. You could be a dragon as well. I'm fine with that. And I teach everybody how to journal. But a big part of my morning rise up, which I've already been through, is actually this idea of consuming positive information, whether it's reading, watching a YouTube video, or a podcast. So a lot of people have been using the Rise Up with Dragon podcast, and we have almost 50 episodes logged in there as something that you can consume on a regular basis. The 15 Days of Discipline is really, really cool. And we've got our first book coming out soon before my big, big book project, which is going to be a collection of a bunch of my favorite rise ups. It's going to be called Rise Up Daily. I think that's going to go, or Daily Rise Up. I don't know. I have to ask them. So anyway, great morning, everybody. Once again, welcome everybody that's coming in on Clubhouse. We will be with you live with our guest, and you're going to love her. So let me just lay the groundwork for this. So as you know, the Rise Up with Dragon podcast is just kind of all about unpacking things that are relevant. I always like to think that I'm like an antenna that receives information, processes it. And I process it in my own selfish way for my own personal gain. But I've just found that by writing about things and then coming on my show and talking about how I break them down with my system, and I have a system for this. This is what I teach people. I call that the interface response system. It's just a way of unpacking and making sense of stuff. By me sharing it with you, it actually helps me take hold of it. So a big part of my story, without getting too far into it, and I'm actually going to be interviewed on our guest's podcast as well, so I'll go into my story a little bit more there. But when I was young, I went through a divorce. My parents got divorced. And so I experienced that in the varying phases, and it affected me in many, many ways, dramatic ways, which I didn't realize until I was older. So naturally, as you can imagine, if I looked at my, family tree, I mean, as far back as I can go, I can't see that a Dornick man, that's my last name, has ever successfully and it's interesting to even look at the word successfully. Like, can you be successful and divorced? It's an interesting concept. But I experienced a reality that divorce is part of marriage. So naturally, when I got married, I got divorced. So this is a very, very big thing that I used to suck my thumb at quite a bit about, or I used to suck my thumb about quite a bit. Um, and the reason why is because for some reason, when I went through a divorce, because of what I knew divorce was, is I kind of fell below the line and I became a victim of it. So divorce is a really, really interesting thing that carries so many connections and emotions. So the other day, I was just randomly, floating in the ether of the world. And I just love how I just can kind of like bump into people randomly. And this is the power of intention. I woke up that morning and I wrote about it and I thought about it, the idea of having a rise up about divorce, the topic of divorce. So I was just carrying that with me, and it was just something that I was looking for. So I go into a Clubhouse room, and I think it was one that maybe I was even moderating for podcasting or something like that. And the first thing I notice is I see this little, in Clubhouse, you don't really see people, you just see like their profile pictures. And I saw this profile picture of this delightful woman with this beautiful like yellow sweater. And I was like, I didn't know who she was, but I saw her name was Tosh Brittan. And I said, oh, right. And then finally we got to her and found out that she calls herself the divorce goddess. And it was just such a funny thing. She and I instantaneously became friends. And I told her, hey, this is funny. I'm looking for this, and we're becoming friends now. And she's on our show today, and I'm going to be on her show. But what's interesting about Tosh is she's not your average ordinary person that you would go to see when you're getting a divorce. In fact, when I was in the throes of divorce, I went and saw a mediator slash therapist, and I really feel like they were there to just help us get divorced. I remember when we would come back and they'd say, how do you feel now? And we'd say much, much worse. And it was like, we're successfully moving closer to divorce and stuff. And I also want to give a quick shout out to my ex-wife. If she does see this, I won't mention her name, but she and I are just peas in a pod. We're just such great friends. And I told Tosh when I met her that I've had what I think is the most successful divorce that's ever been. I actually was thinking about writing a book on how to successfully get divorced. And what I mean by successful, I'm not saying, it's a very interesting topic, divorce, because a lot of people will say it's a sin and all of this stuff that comes along with it. We're going to get into that stuff. But if any of you listening ever have the experience of passing on and dying, but you have the opportunity to be recreated and come back to life, you want to be my ex-wife. It's a wonderful life to be my ex-wife. So big shout out to her, the mother of my two boys, who is very, very good friends with my chicken as well. So I'm going to bring her out here. And this is the amazing Tosh Brittan. And I hope I'm saying her last because I've just been calling her Tosh. But let me just tell you a little bit about her before we welcome her in. So she's the founder of the Divorce Goddess podcast, which got them to number 41 in the US. You'll soon see that she's actually from the UK, and number 16 in the UK relationship podcast charts. She's a divorce life coach specializing in transforming the divorce experience. I love that, the divorce experience. Have you ever looked at it as an experience? And can it be a good one? The divorce experience with a kinder approach through programs, webinars, and her one-on-one conversations. She's actually been featured in the Sunday Times and Weekend, as well as working in the BBC, ITV, and Sky, amongst others. She's also features in the Spears 500 Guide of Top Client Advisors for HNW Individuals. So she's been around. She's amazing, and I'm so happy to have her here on the Rise Up with Dragon show. So Tosh, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much. What an amazing introduction. I feel very happy to be here and very welcome. So thank you.
I try. Well, Tosh, what I would love to start off with, the relevance of this topic. First of all, I'm so excited that you and I have met, and so excited to have this conversation.
Likewise.
Selfishly, because it's something that means a lot to me, but I know that a lot of my listeners are at different throes. Some people are secretively thinking about getting divorced. Some people feel that they're branded to get a divorce, and some people are in a divorce. Some people just got separated. Some people are furious and angry. Some people are carrying it with them, or some people like me just think that it was a beautiful process and necessary. So share with us a little bit more about who you are and why you have come to this place where you're known as the divorce goddess.
Okay, well, so first of all, I just want to say thank you and hello to everybody. And secondly, just to say, like, when I talk about the divorce goddess, I don't kind of claim it as I am the divorce goddess. I just believe everybody has the power within them to be a kinder person and to have more compassion and self-kindness, not just for the process, their ex, but actually primarily for themselves, because if you can't love yourself first, then how are you going to be able to be kinder or love anybody in the future? So how it all started off was I'm a child of divorced parents like you, and 30 years later my parents can't speak to each other, and the grandchildren are just like, what is the matter with grandpa and grandma, and we kind of just live with that. And when we went through a divorce, we were going through sort of overseas move, divorce, pretty much bankruptcy. And we had like pretty much probably one of the three of the big five kind of descending upon us. And I was having a conversation one day with some friends, and they were lawyers, and they just said to me, they said, oh, you got to go after him, you got to do this, you got to do that. And I just remember feeling this massive rock in my stomach of like fear of like having to go into battle and to like, go into war. And I just thought, I feel exhausted anyway. I'm emotionally wrung out, and I think towards the end of the marriage anyway, or if it's been a surprise, it's so easy to slip into that place of just feeling completely overwhelmed, and life feels relentless. And I was like, where am I going to find all this energy to go in and go into battle? And I kind of went for a walk, and I sort of sat with these friends of mine, what they'd said. And I just thought, I had this like moment, this epiphany, and I just thought, I'm going to do my divorce with kindness. And it doesn't matter what happens or what is said or done to me or thought about me, I'm going to own my experience. And as you and I know, we can't help we can't stop or control what anybody else is doing to us or saying to us, but we always have ownership of ourselves. And I just thought, I'm going to commit to myself, first of all, and just be the best person I could be through the process. And one day I was sort of sitting there thinking, I haven't got any rent at all. I was like, what am I going to do? This is like, I always refer back to Laurel and Hardy. And I can't remember which one says to the other one, the girl, this is another fine mess you got us into. And I just remember sitting at this table going, what am I going to do? I haven't worked years. I was a company director, but I was a stay-at-home mum, and my ex was away a lot. So it was kind of incumbent on me to keep everything going, and away a lot. We were probably together for probably about 5 years out of the 16 years of our marriage. And I just thought, what am I going to do? And I just thought, well, if I feel like this, there've got to be other people that feel like this. So, and my mum's always said to me, you should write a book. And I just thought, I'll just start blogging. So I started a blog in 2014. And it was around about the time there's a sort of very famous female cook in the UK called Nigella Lawson. And she was like the kitchen goddess, and I just remember thinking, I probably got that wrong actually, and I just thought, bring it out, just go for it. And I remember when I sort of pressed go on the website, and I just thought in the blog, and I thought, okay, this is either going to sink or swim. And yet everybody was like, oh, just tell us about Divorce Goddess. What is it all about? So I thought, okay, it's sticking. And then I got on TV and whatever else, and I just started writing, and it's sort of grown up into a podcast. and yeah, and coaching and all that lovely stuff. And it's about promoting a different way, a sort of a kinder approach to divorce as well. So I think that covers it.
I love that. I love anything just like the way you and I met that is organic. And,
Yeah.
you know, I think what's really important when you hear a story like this, because when people find out why people do what they do, it helps them make sense of it, because everybody kind of comes into, especially when the topic is divorce, their arms are a little bit crossed. When you learn somebody's story and it makes sense, and this is what I talk about in a lot of my work, they uncross their arms. So I think everybody's arms are uncrossed about why and what you're getting out of it, because I'm in your story, I'm hearing what you get out of it and why you like to help other people. Just by nature, when we go through some sort of a darkness and we find a way into the light, we just like say, hey, I'm going to try to help people like spend less time in the dark,
Yeah.
and help them into the light. So, as we know, because I was listening to your story, if I'm being honest, you get a mix of feelings because you relate it to your own story. Feelings of frustration, guilt, shame. I remember when I was in the throes of it, one of the reasons why I tried to pretend that everything was going to be okay, because I believe there is a time where, I mean, we only get to experience this life once. And if you're not happy with your situation or it's unhealthy for you, then you should not just suffer for the rest of your life. That's my opinion.
Yeah.
But I also remember that a lot of the people that I was canoodling with at the time that were important to me, or I thought they were, would say things like it's a sin. And, no, we don't do that and everything like that. It pretty much made me think in my mind that if you get divorced, you're a loser, So I just remember that feeling. So I'd love to hear, because what I want to do is I want to talk about the other side, the pot of gold on the other side of the rainbow. But first, I want to just hear from you in your words. Why is it that we go through this process? Because what you did is I love what you said, you took responsibility and decided to own your own experience. But prior to that, you become a victim of the experience. So
Yeah.
speak a little bit about that, because I would assume people come to you in that state first.
Yeah. I think, when you're a victim, you can just feel like you have those good days and you go, oh, I'm not a victim. And then other days where you just go, oh my God, I don't want to feel like this. This is not who I am anymore. And we kind of become disconnected with ourselves. So we just get caught up in the sort of the narrative of they're doing this to me and they're doing that to me. And I think we kind of lose connection with who we are and we stop believing in ourselves. And I just remember one day, I think I was sort of talking about it. And, I haven't been an angel all the time. I put my hand up happily. But I remember sort of seeing this kind of almost like this thing kind of sort of fall between over my friend's eyes, and I just thought, oh my God, listen to you, what do you sound like? And I just thought, enough, stop it, just start taking steps to build yourself up again. And ultimately nobody is coming to save you. You have to save yourself, because at the end of the day, you are the person that goes to bed with your experience. You are the person that goes to bed with the thoughts in your head. You're the one that's managing. I call them the divorce mind monkeys. So in my book, I talk a lot about the divorce mind monkeys, and nobody can take those out of your head except for you controlling them and making them work for you rather than against you. So I kind of had this whole victim thing, and I just started calling myself out. I was like, do I want to be this person in even 5-10 years time who, when somebody asked me about my divorce, and that whole energy of anger and frustration that kind of sits inside us and that victimhood. And so I was just like, no, I don't want to be that person. And when you meet people, I'm just going to, put it out there to your listeners as well, that when you meet somebody who's had a bad divorce and you can almost feel they've still got it going on inside them, it just feels icky. It's like, you're just like, and I just remember thinking, I don't want to be that person that people are sort of feeling sorry for because they're still stuck in the energy of anger and resentment and bitterness and frustration in their divorce. And actually, you owe yourself and the rest of your life to be a bigger person, to really kind of learn from this and use your divorce as an experience to live a better life and to kind of heal the stuff you need to heal that you've learned through your divorce. And, maybe it's, you should have trusted your instinct a bit more about somebody. Maybe you got married for the wrong reasons. Maybe, and I don't know about you, but I just know that if we ignore the stuff that, these little Matthew McConaughey calls it the angel whispers or whatever you want to call it, your intuition, your gut instinct, if we ignore it, it comes back and gives you a big kick up the ass. And yeah, you're nodding. And doesn't it? And you just think, I've got to pay attention. And we just kind of sweep it away and we go, no, I'm just going to stay on. And it just gets harder and harder and harder the more you ignore it. So actually, for me, getting out of victim mode was like, actually, come on, do this, see this as an opportunity rather than staying in that energy of failure and shame, because it's just like a miserable place to hang out, isn't it?
Yeah, a lot of people, sometimes people ask me, they say, Dragon, how do you always see the bright side of things? And first of all, it's a choice, but second of all, I tried the other way and it sucked. For me, it was just because I kind of hear that that's the process you went through as well, is when you are not happy with your situation, you have a decision to make at that point to continue not being happy, which is to continue being a victim of it, or make a decision to change. And I think it starts very often with acknowledging maybe that it's not happening to you. Perhaps it's happening for you, because I can also look back at my divorce and tell you, had I not gone through it, I never would have noticed this bright shining light that I call my chicken now, So I'm just grateful for everything. There's a great author and just one of the greatest thinker of our times, and it's Eckhart Tolle. He wrote The Power of Now, and he says something I always recite on this show. And he says, the first step to end suffering is the acknowledgement, as you referred to the whispers, the acknowledgement that you are suffering. So you don't want to pretend that you're not suffering. You say, I'm suffering, I'm not happy. And then the second step is the decision to not go on like that and make some change. So it seems to me, correct me if I'm wrong, when somebody comes to you, and I would have loved, one of the mistakes I made when I went through this is I did it on my own because I was ashamed of it. In fact, I was actually told by some higher powers that I was working with at the time to not say anything about it, because it wouldn't look good, so I just went through this. It would have been great to have Tosh in my life there. But would you say that the first step that you guide people through is this idea of taking ownership of their experience?
Yeah, totally. I mean, I would say to clients I work with, I'm really bossy, and if they don't want to do the work and they don't want to fully get themselves out of it, this state of victimhood, then they're with the wrong person, because I make people accountable. But I think one of the first parts of the process is they need to acknowledge, or it's important for them to acknowledge, that they are feeling a victim, and to let's get this really honest conversation out on the table first. And you've got to feel that fear, as Susan Jeffers says, and walk into it. And it is, and I love that. So I love that about Eckhart Tolle is actually acknowledging it. And it is so powerful, but sometimes we just don't know how to acknowledge it. We don't understand that that's what we have to do. And a lot of my work is sort of guiding people through a process where it's just simple. It's so simple, but it feels so difficult because, the mind monkeys, the divorce mind monkeys are involved, and they're wanting it to be something else. And they're growing all your fears as well, and they love fears. Like, fear is divorce mind monkey's best friend. But I think just it's hard. Anything good in life, if you're going to come out of it, and I always kind of, there are a couple of examples like, do you want to be that phoenix that comes out of the ashes, or do you just want to stay in the grate and hang out in the ashes? And at some point you got to kind of like make that rise. Or like a lotus flower that like grows out of the mud. It's like the most beautiful things come out of the most difficult and hardest life experiences. But we all have to show up. I can't remember which Olympian said it, but he said, we all have to do what we don't want to do to get to where we want to go. And that's why practices like yours, you were saying your 15-day is really important. And going through that resistance and going, no, I can't do this, it's not for me. Like, of course it is. You just got to, show up for yourself and trust you can do it. And I just think we live in a society where we feel so disempowered that we've forgotten that we have everything we need inside us. We just have to believe it and trust in ourselves.
Yeah, and I have to give a quick shout out to my beautiful chicken who I can see is watching the live stream. Always want to acknowledge her because there would be no dragon without the chicken. One of our favorite books, because she has an amazing podcast called Karma Mind, and it's a meditation podcast rooted in the beautiful teachings of Buddha. Hope I said that right, sweetie. But one of our favorite books, and she actually considers him one of her mentors, is Thich Nhat Hanh, or I don't know.
Thich Nhat Hanh.
There you go. We got another version of his name. But he wrote
it's amazing.
Called No Mud, No Lotus, so I'm sure you read that one. So I want to shift, because here's the thing. So I'm listening to you and others are listening to you, and it makes total sense, but there's still a barrier. And it's kind of like, as I refer to, but, and it's like, yeah, but what he or she did was so bad. It's very hard to break free from that victimhood, even after you've decided to, and then there's this idea, how long is it going to take? So let's talk a little bit about forgiveness, because I know that that's a big part of what you speak on. My take on forgiveness is not, because I've had to do a lot of forgiving so that I could release myself from things that I was carrying around. I always thought that forgiving somebody, my mother, my father, my teacher, preacher, society, the Facebook reel, the highlight reel, when I forgive someone, it doesn't mean that I'm saying what you did is okay. It means that I no longer allow it to impact me. So speak a little bit about forgiveness, and how do you help people deal with letting something go so that they can, just like letting go of the string of a kite so you can, fly away?
I think what is really important is that people have to we take a look at their life, where they are now, what's working for them, what's not working for them, how much are they impacted by their thoughts and around what happened to them, and actually, do they want to carry on spending the next however many 10, 20, 30 years of their life actually carrying this stuff and having to think about those thoughts and having to be reminded of what somebody did to them. And it's kind of heavy. This is like heavy stuff. And it's, if you're always going to say no but, or yeah but, the but word, it's like you're not sick enough of your narrative. You're not sick enough. You haven't like beaten yourself up enough yet. And I just want to kind of share a story. It's a beautiful mindfulness story, and it's the story of two arrows. So the first arrow is what happens to you. So it's the event, or it's what somebody says to you, or what somebody does to you. And that's as it is, you get shot with this arrow. And then the second arrow is for you to manage what happened. Now, you can either stab yourself and keep on thinking, and stay in this victim place where you just go, oh my God, they did this to me, they did that to me. And it's up to you what you do with it. Or you can just put it down and you can just go, I'm not going to allow what you did to me to stay with me for the rest of my life, or for as many years. But it really is, until you're ready to do the work, until you're sick of feeling as you're feeling, and feeling angry and resent, every time you see your kids, or every time you see mutual friends or family members, you know, it is possible, and it's not as difficult as we make it out to be, to do the work. But it's just it's that initial saying yes. It's like stepping over that ledge. And I just want to make mention of an amazing coach called Byron Katie, and I'm probably aware of her work. And she talks about the backyard theory, that you have your backyard and your ex has their backyard, and if there's a third party in there, which, you know, many divorces there is, and so you've got these 3 little circles or 3 big circles, and every time you are thinking about your ex and maybe their new partner, you're out of your backyard, you're out of you, and you're hanging out in them. And there is this, you know, there's this concept of where your thoughts go, your energy goes. Just hit my mic. And so every time you're thinking about them, you're just giving them all your lovely energy. You're in there, and you're out of your backyard. So just notice when you're doing that. And this would be my like giveaway for today, is just notice when you're over there and how much energy you're giving them, or him or her or whoever, and just come back to you. Do something lovely for you. Do that, you know, some lovely self-care. Go out for a walk, you know, do some meditation, drink more water, cook something that nourishes you, look after you. And the more you come back to you, the less you're going to be thinking about them. And, you know, she'll probably agree with me, it's all about habits. It's about small daily habits. And it doesn't have to be this big, huge forgiveness thing. I think people think, oh my God, do forgiveness. Oh my God, it's too big. Where do I start? It's so huge. It's not. It really starts, like anything else, by taking small baby steps, and being gentle to yourself, and just don't give your ex all that energy with thoughts and all that stuff as well. And just slowly, we unlearn this stuff, because you've got a deep neural pathway that you've been dropping into and doing this for so long. And like anything, the more you come out of it, the more it sort of fills up, and, you know, it's there.
I love everything. It's almost like, you know, just spend some time primping up and making your backyard look good, you know, because you were not invited to go plant some flowers in somebody else's backyard, you know, but we spend quite a bit of time there. My great friend, and he was a guest, and just on the cover of Entrepreneur magazine, Jim Quick. He wrote the book Limitless. If you haven't read that,
yeah.
He's a neighbor, old friend of mine. But what he speaks about, it's interesting. He actually teaches people that one of their biggest issues and challenges in life is they don't know how to learn. We're brought up learning all the time, but nobody ever taught us how to learn. And it's just an interesting concept to think about unlearning. And what that reference is that most of the time we're going through life, and I was imprinted and taught about abandonment and divorce and things like that. So that's what I learned. So one of the steps when I decided, as you said, to own my own experience was to unlearn what I learned. But I had to recognize that it was something that I was taught by others. It wasn't necessarily what I thought. I was taught by others. And that brought me to this place where not only could I make a decision to enjoy life more, and also open myself up to something wonderful, but actually execute it at the same time. So let's talk a little bit about, let's move to this wonderful side, because so we're in the victim status, and we make a decision not to. We learn a little bit about forgiveness, which is one little step at a time. It's, you know, you'll be working on things like that until you slide into home. But on the other side of divorce, you know, is it okay? Is divorce a bad thing? You know, because if you think it's a bad thing, you will be bad for the rest of your life. That's what's interesting, is this idea of thriving after divorce. I can tell you how I did it. It was a combination of working on myself and very, very much working on my relationship with my ex in the eyes of my children, doing the quote unquote right thing, trying to figure out what that even meant. And then I opened up this space, and this chicken came into my life. So I know how it worked for me, but I also know that I still, to this day, think that I did something wrong. You know, I picked up my kid from hockey last night and dropped him off at his mom's house and still said, loser. You know what I mean? Like, so we still revert back, and I have my own system and way of getting through that stuff. But how do we thrive after divorce, and how do we get to this point where we're okay with it and we don't think that we've done something wrong? This is what I want to know.
Okay, let's go for it. So I think when we talk about forgiveness, we talk about a lot. Our first kind of thought is actually we have to forgive our ex. And I think what is really powerful is we kind of just sort of, we're in our heads and we're out of ourselves. And I mentioned earlier about reconnecting to yourself and actually forgiving yourself. Just give yourself permission that you're just a human being going through life with no blueprint or handbook on what you're supposed to do in any given situation, and just forgive yourself. Just, you know, and it's easy to say, oh, just forgive yourself. And there's a great Hawaiian forgiveness prayer called Ho'oponopono, and it's about, you know, I think it's I'm sorry, I forgive you, thank you, I love you. And you can say it to yourself as well, and just put your hands on your heart and just forgive yourself and allow yourself to let go of, you know, what is weighing you down and what is like what you're carrying around, what you birch yourself with, and those quieter moments, the words you speak to yourself, you use about yourself, and even just something really simple like noticing the words you use about yourself around your divorce, like I was an idiot, or I was stupid, or I was an asshole, or loser, whatever words that you use regularly about yourself. Just stop using those words. Just choose to say something a little bit more kinder to yourself. And the other thing I was going to say is as well is that if you're unhappy in a relationship, and I'm not advocating divorce, you know, I'm not here to do that. I'm here to talk about having a kinder experience for yourself as well. But, you know, if you're in a relationship and you're scared of leaving, or you're worried about finances or whatever's going to happen, and you're not fully 100% in that relationship because you're too scared to leave, I just kind of want you to think about this. You're kind of robbing that other person of having your partner, somebody who might love them 100%. And actually, that was something that I was talking to somebody about. And that's really powerful. It's like, you don't want to leave, but you're not allowing your partner to give or live a life of love with somebody who truly loves them. And that was quite a good kind of thing for me to, take a step back on and go, you know what, that actually really makes a lot of sense as well. But I think forgiveness and thriving, I think if you want to thrive in your future, you've got to just kind of look after yourself first. Yeah, stop trying to make it right with everybody else. It doesn't matter what anybody else thinks, we focus too much on that. We compare ourselves, how well did I do compared to somebody else down the road that got divorced? And just this is your experience. This is your own experience. And the more you connect with yourself, and I talk about connection, whether it's like just doing some meditation, guided meditations, you don't have to do like waterfalls and unicorns. You can just do some breathing or body scan, which is all about just checking in with your body and how you're feeling, and just get good at being with you. Yeah, because when it comes to you then moving on and thriving in perhaps a new relationship, it's like if you're still dragging all this luggage around, you're calling yourself an idiot and everything. It's like, I think RuPaul says, how can you love anybody else, or how can anybody else love you if you don't love yourself? Sorry about that. It begins with you. And that's really what your divorce is about. It's about you and how you get through this really difficult time, this challenging, painful time, and having your own back as well. so you can truly in the future turn around and say, I owned it. Yeah.
You know, it's so fascinating. I mean, I'm gonna toot my own horn and of some of my work. I think the biggest challenge, whether it's divorce, because I mean, if you read any book and you learn any lesson about thriving, you have to go through the mud to get the lotus, you know? As you said before, isn't it interesting how God and the universe has mysteriously placed everything that we desire on the other side of a piece of shit, you know? So, but when we are greeted with the proverbial shit, we still have this tendency of thinking that it smells, but if we pause and we sit back and we realize we can look at something like divorce as something happening for us. Maybe it is an obstacle, a challenge that is there for us to learn and get through. I'm not condoning it. You know, one of the things that I love to do on my show is never take a side, because then you're attracting people that are taking another side. So I'm not looking for that, because I actually think all sides are necessary and it's awesome. So if somebody comes up to me and says, hey, you're a complete loser, you've sinned and you got divorced, and I say, thank you. You know, I appreciate that. I'm going to think about that a little. So what's interesting is that all leads back to our ability. You know, I think the greatest problem that we face as humans is emotional mismanagement, how we manage our emotions affiliated with the happenings of life. So if we can work on, and you know, what Tosh was saying, you know, like forgiving yourself and taking ownership of your experience, and you know, just allowing yourself to recognize that you didn't get a guidebook and all that. And then you look at practices like Stoicism and Buddhism and things like that, which really just are there to help you practice looking at things a little bit different. You know, for those of you that have heard my interview, which is just blown up on my podcast with Donald Hoffman, I don't know if you've ever heard of him, Tosh, but he wrote a book called The Case Against Reality. He's one of the smartest minds in the world, and he claims that everything that we think is not actually happening. You know, so one of the things that I like to do, you know, is interesting. I was telling Chicken this morning when we were on our walk, and I said, you know, your husband thinks that everything is just a simulation and just a game, right? And she goes, yeah. And she goes, but where do I stand in that? And I go, so you're part of that, but in my fantasy, you're what makes it so great. So that's why I have you in my life, is you actually make this fantasy wonderful. So Tosh,
I love that. That warms my heart hearing that. How lovely. And it makes me laugh every time you say chicken, because my dad, I'm like the eldest of 5 girls, and he always calls us chicken wherever he's with.
Yeah, chicken and dragon. And you know, we're just months away from our little angel Ducky, we call her. We're adopting her, and she's going to be here soon. So a lot of great stuff happening because we have decided not necessarily to get out of our own way, but allow ourselves to recognize that everything's okay. Everything good, everything bad. You know, when people ask us, how are you doing? We say, it's all good. You know, no matter what, it's all necessary.
I love that quote. Nothing is in control.
Yep.
Because nothing is in control.
Yep. So this has been wonderful. Why don't you? We're going to close out this interview now. We'll probably going to hear a lot more from Tosh in the future, because her and I are becoming great friends. I think we really got some great value on this topic, and we got people thinking, maybe forgiving themselves, maybe taking ownership of their experience, maybe allowing themselves to open themselves up to be possibility thinkers and enjoy a better life. So we're going to move. If you have some time, we'll join. And there's a couple people still here in the Clubhouse room, and that is at Makes Sense. You can always find me in my Clubhouse room if you're watching this live, or you want to come for subsequent rooms. But we love and appreciate you all. Tosh, thanks so much for being here with us today. And remember something: if you learn something today, give it away, share it with others. That's how you take ownership of it, and that's how it stays. And wish everybody a great morning. This has been the Rise Up with Dragon podcast / show. You can find me and communicate with me on our website, riseupwithdragon.com. You can subscribe to our podcast for free at Rise Up with Dragon, and that's on all the platforms. And you can also come say hi to me in my Instagram at Rise Up with Dragon, if you didn't know already. So love and appreciate you all. We'll have our little outro here, and wish you a great day.